We love, baby. We love.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Dave here with Matt, and this is Early Work 2.0. We're trying to make it a bit more casual. I think our first and only episode was on that psych wall, and now since the pandemic's hit, and we do work together during the day. We are in close proximity. We've had COVID tests, yada yada. But for this, Matt likes his home setup, and so do I. So to be honest, it's much easier for us to just call each other up, not set up all the lights, and just go through it. So, Matt, tell me what you think of the setup we have here.
Honestly, thrown together in under an hour, so I'm quite proud of it. Motion background and all, so we're pretty fancy right now. I think we also have a pretty decent show going ahead.
I think today's episode, I really thought of it because you had to come over today and fix my computer because one of my RAM sticks just shit the bed. And so I said, well, man, we're successful in my eyes in the year 2020. And we've known each other a little more than 4 years. Mm-hmm. We're making good money, working with Max. We're working with other brands. We're making money on top of our regular quote unquote 9 to 5. And now, we're doing great, but we still have all these struggles. Like 4 hours of my day was gone because my computer didn't work. And I was frustrated. And I mean, it's great I could call you to just come over, but I wanted to make this episode about like people think you achieve this level of success and everything is peachy and works out great, but that's not true. Just tell me about this week being back. Tell me about some struggles that you've had, because I've had plenty. Well,
I guess even the bigger point is depending on things to run as they should, especially when it comes to gear. Yeah. But in terms of say an email system or whatnot, like we've been pretty busy this week. So we've been definitely struggling with time management. There's not enough hours in the workday. Let alone, to like come home, relax, and have some food or whatnot.
And there's only two of us. So for everybody just checking in here, Matt and I work with Max Maxwell, and we do his brand, his back end stuff. We do a lot of stuff on the side. We shoot his events, and we do our own thing. So we've been struggling to even get a successful time to do this podcast. But I thought it was important just for us to talk about the behind the scenes, because we do make it look all polished as best we can. We still have a bunch of ups when we launch stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's still successful. We're failing forward. But this is like kind of our way to show the behind the scenes of what we do, how you actually build a brand, and how behind the curtain, it's not so pleasant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This week, especially with emails, I've been through like 2,000 emails because I was in South Africa for a month, and I just have totally, to be honest, I've just been ignoring my emails. I just haven't been doing them.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's nice to just shut off from the email system, especially when you have a good excuse like enjoying South Africa. So that catch up game is always kind of bites you in the ass, and that applies to a lot of projects, but I think our time management has been getting really a lot better now. We've been using a couple tools. What are our Timular?
Yeah. I actually tried to use it one day in South Africa, and it was cool, but then I was like, why am I doing this? I mean, so what it is this little like, what is it, 6-sided?
You feel like a wizard like because you have a die.
Yeah. You have this like diamond thing, and you have a little place you can rest it on your desk. But then when you're doing a task, you just flip it to the side when face up. What you can write on each thing and link it to your computer. And so if you have a meeting, you put it down and you track how long the meeting is, how many minutes. I was doing that without the device because you don't need the device. You can still just track it in the computer. And that lasted for about 2 hours. And then I just bailed on it for the rest of the trip.
Have you run into the issue of not having enough sides?
I have. I've already run into that issue. They give you, so it's let's see, it's 8 sides, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
6?
So when I first made it, I was like really micro about what I was putting down. I was like, oh, this is going to be Illustrator. I'm like, okay, so I think what's really helped me is like take a step back and be like, you have to look at things as kind of a whole or a holistic approach. You have to be like, okay, group all of that into one major task. And I think that's, you know, when you're working for yourself, that's kind of something hard to do because you're always thinking about what's next on your list of tasks. So it's hard to like group a bunch together and be like, here's this time block, because I'm all over the place, I feel.
Well, I mean, we're both all over the place, and I always give you a hard time about it, only because you're younger than me by about 10, 11 years.
That's how it happens.
Most of the time fairly, sometimes unfairly. But I want people to understand, when you work in this environment that we're in with Max, and he's constantly coming in, like, I think it was Wednesday, he said, hey, I need this article about this thing and just do it right now. And I'm like, okay. I was like, hey, at the same time, Matt, go edit this photo and do these other 2 posts. And we're in the middle of doing something. We say, okay, put this thing to the side. We can finish it later. It's not time critical because this thing is time critical. So when you work with a CEO, it's just, he needs it immediately. He needs it now. He's not a dick about it, but at the same time, you're like, okay, I got to
it's a priority.
My brain.
Yeah. So I feel like working for a YouTuber kind of a brand when it's like a person. So say really anybody, as you see the bigger echelon of influencers, you're kind of constantly considering their time and their day. You're kind of always knowing where they're at, just so you could be like, yo, I have 20 minutes with you. Let's get this done, and this done. So, keeping up with another person's life is really a lot harder than a lot of people think, but it's fun.
It's well said.
Yeah,
and it is fun. It's like, you know, at the same time, he's just as spontaneous to say, yo, let's go on this trip. Like, you guys went to LA a couple months ago to go check out Mojo's plane, and I was like, yeah, dude, like, go. I don't know, I was doing something else, and I just didn't want to go trip. And it's yeah, but you got to go to LA, you got to do a Matty B challenge with
dude, it was awesome.
And now
but it's
so
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just tell people about just how that is, that spontaneity.
Oh yeah, so I mean, when you come from a state where you're like, oh, I've traveled like once or twice, you know, you take a trip to the next state over or something. When you're with Max or someone doing, you know, business across many parts of the world, you're expected to kind of like, hey, it's a weekend business trip, and we're going to LA, and we're going to stuff as much as many things as possible in these 2 days. So it's like you're considering you have to back up all of your footage that you're capturing all day. You're planning out kind of your shoots and any activities that you might be doing as to how they might be entertaining for people to watch. So it's like a giant puzzle game that you're constantly playing. I don't even know. It's fun. And then you see the reactions from the viewers, and the viewers is obviously another whole side of it.
Yeah, I've interacted with probably 200 people this week on email. I usually don't spend that much time emailing, like responding. I just give people exactly the info they need, and I go to the next email, especially because I was like doing an overhaul, cleaning out like 2,000 emails, which I accomplished by Friday. I didn't think it would take me all week. On top of that, we're doing the inventory for all the gear, all the clothing for Alphas Only, which I loathe. Like I hate doing that, but it was necessary. So we folded T-shirts, took photos, and described and put the, you know, monetary value of each item, because, you know, if something happens, like, you need that for insurance. You also need it for taxes, to depreciate new products you purchased. So again, people think, you know, making YouTube videos, that's sick. It is. This is a sick career. It's a, you know, technically,
but there's
like,
so many levels.
Tasks. There's too many levels to it. So if you're uncomfortable, and I will admit at times I'm like, I wish I could just have a rigid routine where each hour I do something different, but that's just not the case. So I relish my weekends where I can plan everything out perfectly. And like even today, you and me went into the studio just to set up for Wednesday. So it's Saturday we're recording this, and on Wednesday we're doing a live, but we needed to tweak some stuff to not do it last minute. Every
Exactly.
wrench at every moment gets thrown in our plans for what we want to do. But at the same time, the value in you and me being with Max is that we can do things quickly, basically on call. And not only do you have to be skilled in the industry of making media, making content, you have to do it fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so for everybody out there, if you're getting started with somebody like Max, with somebody who moves quick, or with a brand, like, increase your speed. Like, it's okay if you mess up as you go. Like, I never actually get mad at you for that, because I'd rather have speed and then we can make the adjustments later than it take you a long time for us to realize at the end, okay, it's all wrong, but that took you a week and now we can't fix it. Like, instead you can turn it around in a couple hours and say, all right, I know it's not like all the way, but it's like 90%. So that's really good.
Yeah, you say that you don't really spend, especially with photo editing or whatnot. I know you're specific as like you spend no less than like 5 minutes a photo or something like that.
Not even. Like, I'll spend like a minute or so on each. I'll just do basic exposure, contrast. I hit the auto button like it's my job. And I know that's not the most artistic thing, but I'm just like auto. And if it looks kind of close, I'll keep it. If it's messing with the exposure, like if something's underexposed, sometimes if you hit auto, it'll make it look grainy and like kind of shitty. So you have to kind of figure that out. But if you do one template, and I'm talking about Lightroom here, if you figure out which photo looks great and it's all in the same lighting environment, just copy paste, and delete. So I'm trying to rush through 200-300 photos fast I can, because it's like the news cycle. You need to get the photos out. They were relevant when you took them, and they only have like a 24 to 48 hour shelf life, unless you can use them way later when it's not time specific, because like we're on this trip. So every day I was doing like a 10, 11 photo post to South Africa. So I want to turn those around quick, make them look natural, and then make them look, slightly improved. I'm not trying to do some dramatic edit. And honestly, you get what you see. I don't want to manipulate it too much. I want people to see what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something too, is that I see with creatives, is that there's varied styles too. So if you are a brand looking for a creative, or a creative looking for a brand, try to find someone that matches that style. Cause there's definitely going to be some people that shoot a little bit more artistically, or some people that shoot a little bit more documentary kind of. There's different aesthetics in film, especially, which is special to find someone who can do multiple aesthetics, obviously.
What would you say is like, do you think about your own aesthetic? Like, where are you trying to go with yours?
I don't really know. I just feel like I've always like been the jack of all trades type thing. In terms of filming my own stuff, it's hard for me. I haven't really made my own creative stuff in a while, but I do like, I have a lot of directors and films that I watch. I'm an avid movie buff, so I definitely have some aesthetic that's built in to my taste.
And that's tough too, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize you set aside a lot of your own passion projects to do everyone else's projects. So like you and me are always, we're doing everybody else's. So they'll say, oh, like I haven't seen a vlog from you, or I haven't seen this. And I'm like, but you have seen my work. It's just not me in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, that's why I treat, Max's content. That's where I can actually use my creative skill and the kind of directive or direction and all that type of stuff. So, and I'm doing branding stuff all the time, like logos, and a lot of the front end that people see is my design. So it's fun to actually see a project come to life, like We Live events and things like that.
Yeah, well, and speaking of those projects, there's two in particular you did this week, because we got back, and we have this guy, Josh, who started working with us, and he taught Max how to fly. He's a mechanic, A&P. Investor in planes. He's a lot of things, and that seems to be what our team is people with a lot of talents. So I think you got a clip of Josh's intro that you made from footage I shot. And what happens is like I shoot a ton of stuff, and I'm glad that you're shooting more just because I want you to be doing more, also because it gives me a break. But it's been for a while that I would shoot and kind of be like, all right, Matt, here's my stuff. Like, do your thing. And that has been like the trade-off. So I'm trying to get it to the point where you and me switch roles, because some days I'm like, you know what? I just feel like editing.
Yeah, and some days I don't feel like editing. I'm like, edit's fun and all.
You're like,
It is a science, but sometimes you just want to go outside and shoot around with the camera.
It's an art. It's a science and it's an art, kid.
It is. There's a lot of science behind the edit, and that's I think that's why I kind of like it. It's kind of, there is specific things that you should do where, I don't know, it has a backbone, I guess. So
if you can,
so let's pull up this clip here.
Show the people.
Show the people. All right, let's switch over here. So bring up Josh's intro.
I'm Josh Roeder, A&P, CFI, aviation enthusiast. Been doing some amazing things here in this industry, and I want to bring you guys along for the ride.
Yeah, the plane shots are awesome. Drone shot.
Those are fun.
Sweet. Yeah, so that is Josh's intro. Actually, that was that was the first version.
Walk me through, like, because I took a bunch of stuff, not with the idea of doing a video for Josh, but I was shooting a documentary it's called How to Build an Airplane in South Africa. And it was like dual try, like all these purposes. So shoot the doc, get footage for Max, cover the trip, because that's the point. Like, he's building a plane. Get footage that Josh can use. So me and him went up a bunch of times, did test flights. We actually did some maneuvers that are, I guess, not totally legal, but not illegal. So there's some footage of that I don't think we showed, but we showed.
Listen, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, Dave.
Exactly. You used the footage we could use of Josh, because like Josh is a really good pilot, but we were flying with the test pilot, Sean, who is like an exceptional pilot. The guy, he borrowed an airplane when he was 12 and he flew from, I think it was Johannesburg toward Cape Town. He was trying to go see his mom, but he didn't make it. Soon realized, oh no, I need to get back. Fuel's up. It takes off, but he kind of crash lands. Him and his buddy, they're fine. They end up being on this farm for a little while, and then he kind of gets scolded at home. It made like national, I think international news. But, that guy's been flying since he was 12. And for him to give Josh praise, that's a big deal. But back to the intro, your ability to take clips and have like pretty much no context of what's going on, that's impressive. I mean, I know an intro, you don't need a ton of context. You're just trying to make it look like cool. Yeah,
I think there's just like, the biggest thing is finding clips that are obviously visually appealing for intros like that. When you're going for a specific look and you're like, okay, I want to have an outcome really pictured in your head. You got to really find clips that work well together. And then, when you're editing, you're kind of doing an eye tracking system. So you go from object to face to that. So that's kind of how you get flow, just kind of behind the curtains. Yeah.
I don't think people think about that part, because to me, the human face, the most interesting thing to photograph. But what you said about tracking the eye, like, explain a little more about like why you pick those images.
Yeah. So let's bring it back up here. So
I'm Josh.
So I'm just going to scrub. So like when I'm going essentially from object to object, in the beginning, you're immediately kind of thrown into that river scene. And you're like, kind of, what's going on? You see it's a really crazy bank. And then I immediately go into Josh skydiving. So it's pretty like high action right away. And you're going right from the river to his face, from his face to him on the dirt bike. It's all in the same kind of, if you follow these things in the screen, From there, you're going right to the middle where everyone's kind of in that fisheye view inside. Dave's in the background.
Hey.
And then it kind of pulls out. We're giving context now to the planes. Then it goes to Josh. Again, you're just kind of tracking the face throughout. So if you're jumping around a lot, it's not going to feel smooth. But this one we wanted to feel super smooth. That's why we did those spins. And then in the end, we ended up changing the transition a little bit because there was like a little bit of a choppy piece. But I remember that was
It's
resolved.
cool to hear you explain it because you and me don't think about it like it's subconscious. Like, yes, we're doing that, but we're not like being real overt about that. And I think that's how you manipulate images is the audience isn't thinking it either.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you're guiding them down a path that lets them know, like, all right, this is adventure. This guy flies. Clearly, he travels a lot of places. I get it. Like within like 20 seconds or so, like I understand what's happening, what I'm about to watch.
Facts.
So I like describing. We got to do more of that. We got to describe like our thought process because we take for granted that people are just know, and I don't think people do. I don't think people care.
Well, editors and definitely the people who are kind of interested in making their own content do. But I feel like a lot of people are just they like to watch and kind of they're presented like something entertaining. So the science behind it's kind of interesting.
So take me from that to this other clip that you have, which is one of the bull riders we represent with the Maxwell Harding Agency, Andrew Alvarado. And we've been working on content for him for like 6 to 8 months. He signed a few months ago. But his stuff it's like the motivational stuff combined with him being like a fitness nut and he's a bull rider. Like, he's got to be badass, but thought-provoking.
What else can you really say? He's a bull rider.
He's a bull rider.
You know, we did a one-day kind of challenge in terms of building his brand. So if you go and check out his YouTube, I'll drop a link in the description. You can kind of really tell immediately who he is as a person. His logo that we went with and created is pretty cool, and it's pretty unique.
Which you created from scratch.
Yeah.
And I think the cool part about his logo is that I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, oh, it looks cool. It kind of looks like a bull. But he's like, it's like a bull like doing this.
Yeah. And I was like, genius. And I was like, all right. So then we literally essentially added the arms on top, removed the horns and went with that. And then consulted Andrew about his colorway, and he likes the red. So we went with a pretty like kind of gritty and in your face type intro for him. Let me swap over to it here. All right, so let's play the video. Sweet. Yeah, so the music that we went with on that one was it took us a little bit. It took me a little bit. But in the end I ended up finding a pretty good track. It was kind of like UFC themed. That's kind of what it felt like to me. And Andrew's a pretty built guy, so I wanted something like kind of in your face and powerful. So we went with, obviously his colors of red and black. Went with his logo, the grit he's a bull rider. He's from the South. He's from the gritty South. You know how it is. And I thought it fit him pretty well, and he liked it off rip.
Texas. Yeah, it's he was really excited about it. Actually, it's crazy. Today he's getting married. I know he invited us to the wedding, but it was kind of it's tough, right? It's COVID. It's gonna be all people I don't know.
No idea.
Haven't been around. And like I was just even saying to you, I decided to stay here for Thanksgiving to hang out with you and Jess because I was gonna go to Alabama, but my aunt got COVID, and so I said, I don't know, that seems like a sign, even though obviously she wouldn't be there. I just feel like I was asking for it if I went somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like congrats, Andrew, obviously, for missing. If you're watching this, we're missing it. But yeah, I think big events should be taken seriously again, and obviously, it looks like we're going back into an eventless era for at least another couple of months. Which I know is a lot. It's a lot of videographers depend on the events and nightlife industry, especially weddings, parties, anniversaries, anything like that. So it really is pretty annoying, at least for a videographer, to kind of lose a lot of this potential leads in terms of business. What would you suggest for that, Dave? I feel like a lot of people are into the gigging industry, which I've literally tagged on the very end of your kind of gig life.
That was the end. You're right. That was like the last major shoot I did as a freelancer. And then pretty much I started working with Max about, I don't know, 6 to 8 months after that. Like, I was living in Nashville. It was a weird time because I had decided to be a freelancer. I left New York City and decided to gig. And so if the timing, like, imagine if I had done that 6 months ago or like right before COVID and I was like, cool, I'm going to go and I'm going to be a freelancer. Which people definitely
did. Some people
I'm sure they did. I mean, even like one of our friends, E, like he got let go from the company he was working at. And then he's like, all right, cool. Like I can figure it out. I know what to do. And then COVID hit. And like he had 2 months from no COVID to COVID of being a freelancer. So to answer your question, what I would do is get real good at the virtual thing. Like right now we're recording this. Most people have no clue how to hook any of this up. Even the basic, like, how do you do lighting? What kind of room should you be in? How's the sound? What kind of mic should you use? What kind of computer do you have? What software? There's so many questions. If you can be like a master consultant of the Zoom call, like if you can do the best Zoom call, that's where you should put all your eggs into that basket and then pitch companies. There's still shoots happening. Yeah, you can still go and shoot, but like I would avoid like large gatherings. I would pitch companies on, let me do some more videos for you, like one-on-one interview style. I'll go shoot the B-roll. Like, I think now people are investing their money into the virtual setup. So you can almost be, I was telling my friend Woe last night, I'm like, you can almost be an interior decorator, but for content, for gear. Mm-hmm. So take those skills of like an interior decorator would say, oh, you put this couch here with this color and it's very feng shui, like that whole term, and you got this bed and you got this and that and paintings. But with people, you say, all right, this is what your background should look like. I didn't really think too much about my background. I did a little. I have my logo over here, which is kind of blown out. So I got to figure out how to get that with the little cactus. I got the likes vending machine, and then I got all my sticky notes because my sticky note process, how I do. But you kind of get an idea of what I am and like what I do. And like I can see with your background, like you put like the classy fireplace on the TV, you got the exposed brick. Yep. Yeah. Even just that, like, we're working on this course, the CEO content blueprint, and like people, high-powered CEOs and people that have money, they think about that stuff. Yeah. They want to look good and be presentable, but you got to switch to virtual. If you can be good at virtual, you will make tons of money in the pandemic. I know we haven't seen a dip. We've only made more content because Max has less places to go.
Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, bringing it back to my friend Rich from New York, he literally did that as a job after a while. He was the head tech consultant for like Revlon CEOs and specific people. So he would go to their house and be like, okay, if you want like the best streaming setup for just Zoom calls, just like internal calls, here's what I'll do. And, we did a live stream similar to this, like probably 8 years ago. And that's kind of where I saw that
8
value.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Dang.
So if you look up Generation Tech on YouTube, I'm sure it's out there. But
OG Matt Burrows content.
Yeah, for real. But like, that value has always been there. I think it's just now getting more mainstream, and clearly super mainstream now that the fact that everyone is home. So everyone has to either virtually communicate or be reached out with with ads and different type of content for brand awareness.
That's a struggle. So like this is all to get all the way back to the opening. Like life is an epic struggle right now for a lot of people. Restaurants, my brother's telling me that, you know, small businesses, people that said they were business owners but really had a hobby, like they're gone. They didn't have the money saved. They didn't have like restaurants even. Think about Ryan, my brother was telling me, you know, yeah, you can still sell food, you can sell your meals, but they're missing out on the bar because that's where you make all your money, is that huge margin. You pour a shot from a bottle that costs $40 and the shot costs $5. Like, you know, in like, what is it? Like I'm so bad at math, in like 8 shots or so, you've sold the whole bottle.
8 times 5 is 40. Yes, Dave. That's the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I passed, guys. I graduated college. I did the math. I barely skidded.
I think
by.
there's like 20 shots in the 750. So that's the college mind, college math, somewhere around
college
there.
Math. Quick math. So
you know, clearly the bar, obviously, if you worked in the restaurant industry, is definitely the moneymaker. I know a lot of states are shutting down to like 9 p.m. Restaurants, which
I don't get.
Okay,
like I understand you want to shut it down because you don't want people to get COVID and gather. Okay, but restaurants and public places do a better job than being at home because they have regulations. They can only have a certain capacity. It's very limited. And they're going to check your temperature, hand sanitize, all that stuff, keep you socially distant. But when you close the bar at 9:00, everybody's going to go to one person's house and party and all be together. And that's bad.
Well, yeah, especially in college towns and things like that. Obviously, house parties are going to exist
where you got nothing to do.
Are they mass outbreaks? Who knows? Should people get in trouble? I don't really think so, but I mean, people should also be smart and try to socially distance. But again, that's
a struggle.
That's also a point of sales. So look at it as both a pro and a con.
The COVID is obviously a struggle. I mean, I know you brought it up because what would event videographers do? What would I have done if I was an event videographer now? And like by nature, if you're just a freelance person, you have to travel. You can't really travel now. I know we went to South Africa, but we got COVID tests. Mm-hmm. We had an official business letter. We were getting temperature checked everywhere we went. Like we were safe. We were only with the people we knew had COVID tests. And the whole factory at Sling was getting COVID tested like once a week. So everybody we were around there was tested as well. And like, I still want to travel. And actually, if you're on a plane, like first class was empty. There was 12 people in the whole cabin. Get that upgrade. Yeah, you get that upgrade. And you know why you do first class? Because there's less people around. So actually, it's safer to fly right now than ever before. Yeah. But the struggles, we should do definitely a part 2 on struggles because I want to get more into like, what struggles did you have before? Obviously, it was basic, like, I don't have money. I'm a college student. I don't have
gear. Yeah.
I don't have gear because I don't have money. Like, there's these basic things that I wasn't quite dealing with. And, like, here's the thing. I'll tell everybody. Like, I was able to pay Matt, like, $50 a shoot. And for me, that was a lot of money. But it was worth it because I had an extra set of hands. I had, like, another person that kind of knew what they were doing.
Kind of.
Sometimes I had Daryl, and sometimes I didn't have anybody. But you know, that was a struggle for like both of us. Is the money is really a struggle, and I invested all my money in either gas or gear, and we were getting $250 a shoot. So, dude, 50 of the shoot is gone, and like then we're spending some money on food. Most of the time, we're getting to eat because of cookbook. But when me and Matt did that cookbook. Like you got to understand that solidified our relationship as friends, as creatives, as camera people, and you got to go through those tough struggles. And we go through them now. It's just different problems, right? More money, more problems. So now the problem is we have so many projects. We have to manage our time, and like it's a never-ending struggle.
Yeah, time is money, and money is time. Especially as a creative, you have to learn how to dish it out accordingly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And like, I don't mince words. I think a lot of people mistake me for being an asshole sometimes. But Matt, as you know, like, it's never personal to anyone. And I'm glad that you never take it personal. It's like, okay, I have like this many seconds to talk to you about this thing, and then we got to move on to the next thing. You can't dwell. I'm unemotional about it. It's not you. And I think a lot of people attach themselves too much. And I get it. Like, I'm a creative too. Like, I do get a little like hurt if somebody's like, wow, this thing sucked. And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, it's not me. Like, they don't dislike me. They're just telling me they don't like the project.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people struggle with, like, you are not your project. You are separate. You put a lot of yourself into it, but remember, you are not your project.
Exactly. And everything's a learning experience. So, for those creatives that are having to look into new areas, take on those gigs that are something you've never done before. Oh, hey, I've never done a product shoot, but I have all this gear and I'm used to doing wedding photos. Like, reach out to small businesses right now, because they're definitely doing a lot of online sales. Holidays are coming up. It's just, you just got to do a lot of thinking and think about who needs the person who can kind of put things onto the internet and make it sell or make it look good.
Matt can make stuff look good and sell on the internet. When we did our course, we did quite well, and be able to do more than just make images. So I think for next time, we'll talk more about the creative struggles that we have, where we want to make stuff look a certain way, but we don't have as much time. We don't have the buy-in from like Max, and for good reason. He's like, look, I get that you guys want to make it look beautiful and sound amazing, but let's just make it sound amazing, and if it looks good, that's good enough, because we got to move fast. Like, we went through these houses just the other day, I think yesterday, and we were just filming and going, and we had 2 shooters, and I was just getting like basic B-roll of the house, and Matt was getting another angle of Max, and then Max had a vlog camera, so divide and conquer. But we'll talk more about that next week on the episode, so we can explain to people how to overcome their creative struggles.
Yeah, and how to fill in the gaps where you might have in your time of day, if that makes sense. With us going out, how you said, we're kind of very efficient.
Yeah, very, very efficient.
Yeah.
That's kind of our motto. Always be efficient here. So I think that's the second episode, because we had a long ways in between. I'm pretty sure we just did the one early work. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at it now when we were on the psych wall. That was back June 2019, man. That was a while ago.
Yeah. We've been falling forward ever since. So,
Struggle.
It's good to fail forward. It's crazy looking back, over a few months, how much you can improve. So, wherever you might be struggling, just work on it, keep going, and keep at it. Don't give up.
Never give up, as John Cena would say. All right, that was the second episode of Early Work. I don't know where you can find us yet, so I would say all those things now, and we don't have sponsors. You know how podcasts go. So that's just the episode. We're going to do another one, and then we're going to do another one.
Yeah, don't forget to follow Dave at Davis Media on Instagram, and myself at MJBTV on Instagram. So we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching wherever you are. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.